Tourism is one of the greatest matters that influences Vietnam's economy. According to the statistics, tourism contributes to 10% of nation's GDP. Tourism industry is expected to grow even further in the future as the country invests more on human capital and physical capital. Sapa is one of the tourist areas located in northwestern part of Vietnam. It has rapidly developed for the past decade. This video shows the evaluation of development in Sapa, Vietnam, based on the primary and secondary research. One major physical investment that we could observe was investment in infrastructure. During our investigation, we could observe that Tafin Street, one of the busiest streets in Sapa, was newly paved with the support of local government about 3 years ago. This was done to allow transportation to Sapa, such as tourist buses, taxis, construction trucks, and private cars to move faster and more efficiently. Also, we observed that the roads in the mountainous area were paved by concrete, as those roads are often passed by tourists and hikers. The signposts indicating directions and distances were also recently set up. We could also observe transmission towers in mountainous and rural areas. The towers send electricity to people in the most rural part of Sapa. Electricity transmission allows them to use electric devices such as washing machine, TV, freezer, Wi-Fi router, and so on. Moreover, there were shops for the telephone systems such as Viettel and Vinaphone. There are advertisements for 4G too. This indicates that the people in rural area also use smartphones and Wi-Fi. Our tour guide said that Viettel works in all mountainous area. Secondly, we could observe government's investments in human capital. Facilities for education were also built with the support of Sapa government. This was shown on the school's main gate. It said UBND Sapa, which means People's Committee of Sapa, and GDNDT, which means Minister of Education and Training. These signs indicate that education facilities were built by government.
There were schools in mountainous areas too. Although the size of the facilities were relatively small to those of urban areas, the facilities allow children of these areas to be accessible to primary and secondary education. Some schools were named School with Tourism, which presumably shows that this school trains local people about tourism and tour guiding.
After the observation, we investigated on how the economic growth boosted by government's investigation in physical capital and human capital had affected people's standard of living. To get an accurate value of the people's standard of living, we analyzed the statistics conducted by United Nations Development Program. According to United Nations report of Vietnam development, although infant mortality has dropped in almost all disadvantaged regions, including the northwestern Vietnam, these regions still lag behind the more advanced southeast and the Red River Delta. For example, although disparity between the northwest and southeast has declined from 3 times in 2005 to about 2.5 times in 2008, the difference remains large. Despite great improvements during 2005 to 2008, the Central Highlands and Northwestern region have the highest rates of child malnutrition too.
My daughter is she in the boarding school.
A boarding school?
Yeah, in the boarding school, I had to pay. Pay for the food, pay for the room for living.
Oh, I
Yes.
got it. Yeah. So, and then do you expect your kids to go to high school as well?
I'm not sure right now because after the high school, then you have to pay for everything.
Everything.
You have to move to the bigger city, pay everything. So
Like not Lao Cai, not in Sapa.
Lao Cai or Hanoi or somewhere like that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
not sure right now.
Not sure.
Because if you have enough, cannot fall, so the children no more school after the secondary school, so they're no more school anymore.
Then what do you expect your kids to doing after they finish their school? Do you expect your kids to
Maybe go back home, work in the rice field, live in the village, like that. Yeah. Even cannot go to the high school, so just
so it, so is there any like government supports for those for locals? No supports.
no.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No provided.
Only the secondary, the primary, the high school. No.
To summarize the interview, the first thing we learned is that her daughter goes to boarding school. We could see that there are many boarding schools in Sapa because we passed by some while we were hiking the rural area in Sapa. Secondly, we learned that there is lack of support for education from local government, as the tour guide is hesitant on letting her daughter go to high school due to financial reasons. This shows that financial problems are major factors affecting less mean years of schooling in Sapa compared to urban cities.
Provincial HDI changes from 1999 to 2012 explicitly shows the big economic development in Laogai. As you can see in the chart, while Hanoi has grown 0.08, Laogai has grown 0.145 in HDI in 13 years. On the other hand, the Multidimensional Poverty Index (MPI) is still relatively high in Laogai District as 0.208. The intensity of deprivation in Hanoi and Laogai are 35% and 43.7% respectively. There are various indicators that show the proportion of poor households deprived. There are 5 categories: education, health, housing, sanitation, and information accessibility of the indicators, and these consist of adults' education level, child school attendance, health insurance, access to safe drinking water, a set for information accessibility, and etc. According to the chart shown, the percentage of adult education level and access to safe drinking water in Laogai is still 23 times and 40 times higher than Hanoi, respectively. Whereas education and sanitation is highly more deprived than Hanoi, health insurance in Laogai is relatively widespread now. The percentage of Laogai people getting health insurance is only 1/2 times less than Hanoi. The interview with the tourist guide in Sapa proves this.
Yeah, before is you had to pay. If you had no money,
Really? But now
Yeah.
the government pays.
yeah. So now you only pay for one time. You know, like you only pay for like the laser.
Okay.
So you have the laser, you can just bring the laser and go to the hospital. So that you don't have to pay. Yeah.
What's leather? Like license, I think.
Laser sent from the hospital.
Conclusively, Laogai, a part of northwestern Vietnam, is showing great improvement in economic development, but is still falling behind in comparison with other areas in Vietnam.